So, Jethro, you're about to drive the car. I better show you how it works.
That's Andy Wallace, Formula 1 winner and all-round top bloke. The car is the new Bugatti Chiron. Best day at work ever? I'm gonna say maybe. Formalities over, now it's my turn.
Okay, first go in a Chiron. It's one of those things you're not sure if it'll ever happen, so this is big, this is good. Okay, I should start slow, but there's quite a long straight road here, and I've been waiting too long to start too slow. Wow. Jesus. Yeah, this is...
I wanted you to see those first moments because it shows a couple of things. Firstly, that the new Bugatti Chiron is so head-spinningly fast that it renders you pretty much dumbfounded. But also that from the very first moment you pin the throttle, you have complete confidence in this car's traction, its ability to transmit 1479 horsepower and 1180 foot-pounds with impunity. It's an early peek at this car's quite extraordinary abilities, so much so that just a couple of minutes later I can gather some calm, almost measured thoughts.
I think it'll take a hell of a long time just to get over the performance. But if I try and put my rational head on and think about other stuff, stand out is probably the steering. It's much more weight than a Veyron, but it's so sort of predictable and natural feeling for an electric setup. It's really good, and the chassis's got so much more control than you'd expect given the weight. It just feels properly polished, and it might seem mad that I would jump in this and just let rip, but it gives you the confidence to do it. It's something else. I don't know what to say, there's so much going on with this thing. But mostly, it's that it isn't disparate parts, it's all together. So you expect to just be blown away by one thing, then maybe get diverted off by another. But it's like the whole thing is just as one. And I think that's bloody hard to do with a car with this much power and weight, to give it that level of, it just feels cohesive, and it feels like you could do anything with it. This sounds really wrong, but it feels like a normal car, and I mean that in a good way, because it feels extraordinary in what it can do, but it feels normal in that you feel like you can operate it, so you're not just this horrible weakest link. You're actually empowered to try and enjoy what it does. It's going to be quite a thing, I think, to get my head round over the course of the day. But yeah, just that sense that it's a car, but in a good way. So you can actually think about not just marveling at what it can do, but actually exploiting it, which is mad. And I guess I didn't really expect that. But it's, yeah, I need a few more miles to really break down what I think about it. But at this stage, it's so impressive.
I realise now that describing it as so impressive doesn't quite cover it. This is a car that gives you all the tools to utilise its performance performance that is unprecedented in so many ways. Remember, this car's 8-litre W16 quad turbocharged engine produces 1500 PS or 1479 horsepower at 6,700 RPM and 1180 foot-pounds from 2 to 6,000 RPM. Key to that amazing accessibility is the 2-stage turbocharging. Below 3,800 RPM, all exhaust gases are fed to just 2 turbos for that immense low-down torque. Then the other pair of turbos join in to build towards the full 1500 PS. Get your head around this. It does 0 to 62 in less than 2.5 seconds, 0 to 186 miles an hour in under 13.6, and it is electronically limited to 261 miles an hour. The Chiron drives through a 7-speed dual-clutch box of staggering speed and smoothness. Imagine the forces at work, and yet the shift has such effortless precision. Of course, the Chiron is 4-wheel drive, featuring an E-diff in the rear axle, which helped Bugatti create its stated aim, a rear-wheel drive feeling. Tyres are Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2s. Covering the details of the Chiron here is impossible, but you need to know about the new carbon fibre monocoque with LMP1 levels of rigidity, the adoption of continuously variable dampers with ride height control, active aero and the incredibly effective air brake, and of course the various driving modes which are also new. There's comfort orientated EB mode, the stiffer, lower and more stable Autobahn or highway mode, and the ultimate handling mode, which dials the ESP right back to allow the driver to experience that rear driven balance to full effect. But most of all, you need to hear and see how this car covers the ground. If only the weather would play ball.
So you wait for what feels like years to drive the Chiron, come to southern Europe, and it pours with rain. It feels like we're in Wales in February or something. I just looked in my mirrors and there's a gold Chiron behind us. I'm going to let it past, just to show I'm not lying. The day gets more surreal.
Thank
With more fresh ingredients and a Dom Pizza Checker quality guarantee, now everyone approves of Domino's.
More Queenslanders insure their vehicles with RACQ.
Hopefully the road does eventually dry out and I finally get a proper chance to see how I really feel about the Bugatti Chiron.
Alright, so I've had some time to attempt to collect some thoughts about this car. It's really, really difficult. Obviously the performance dominates, but I guess if I had to say anything, it's like the performance is charting new territory, but everything else has been brought up to the same level. So the surprise, other than the shock of the performance, is that everything else matches that. Braking, grip, balance. The balance is really good. The whole car is just operating on this completely different level. So I talked a little bit about the steering before, and that it is something that strikes you because it lets you read the car, which is really impressive. You can lean on the front end, you can just pitch it into corners and feel it pushing back at you. And then what's really cool is when you're in the middle of the corner, you can get on the throttle so early, there's so much traction, but it feels like the car's turning and that you're driving on sort of the outside rear wheel. So the whole car's balanced, you don't get any understeer. And it feels like it's on the edge of sliding. Now, I don't really want to slide this car on the public road, but I do want to feel that sense of agility which you get with this car. It's so much more sort of aggressive in the way it turns into a corner, and then you can just get on the power, and the balance is going to that outside rear wheel. And it allows you to just use this ridiculous engine in places you would not expect to be able to do it. There's proper agility and control in this thing. What else stands out? Well, it brakes, really, really good pedal feel. I mean, they're fantastic for a start, and the air brake really, really helps. But the feel through the pedal is great. Again, it's that real attention to detail that you maybe wouldn't expect of this car, because you just think of it as a numbers car. But the detail through the brakes, the steering, Jesus, is fantastic. And I think seamless sounds really undramatic, doesn't it? But there's so much force going on in this car that it feels sort of magical, that it is so seamless, and you want to lean on it, you want to push it. The body control, the way it deals with everything, one absolutely assertive movement. So impressive. And it actually, when you combine the speed, the traction, the braking ability, the balance, it gives you this slightly ridiculous feeling of complete invincibility. And I think that's probably a slightly dangerous thing. And you have to keep yourself in check. I think driving this car, a lot of it is having the discipline to realise how quick it will go, what it's capable of, but that it's still subject to the laws of physics, so you need to think about braking distances, everything else. So after just a few hours with this thing, and I wish it was more, but it has been amazing just to get to know it properly after all this time. How do you even attempt to sum up the experience? I think it's just that it just does everything on such a high level. And it's better than it probably needs to be, you know. And I love that they've gone that extra mile to create this car. And what they've ended up with, it's phenomenal. It's actually a phenomena in itself. It's unreal and pretty damn fantastic.